name is Ana Luisa Cepeda, and this is the case study number 2, and I call this case study NYC Dogs. This is a practice case study, so there's no kind of background on the project or anything. In here, I'm just practicing how to use Tableau and MySQL. So I'm gonna explain you the objects of my practice. So first, I need to get a dataset. This to clean it, analyze it, and visualize it. So my second objective is gonna be using MySQL to clean the data and prepare it for visualization. Then in Tableau, I'm gonna analyze the data and kind of try to find different graphs and ways of showing the data, and then displaying them into a dashboard. And lastly, from all this practice, I'm gonna try to propose different uses that from different business that could use my data or my visualizations for their benefit. So, okay, let's get started with this practice. So the first thing that we did was look for a dataset. I'm a person that really likes dogs, so when I saw that there was a dog licensing dataset, I had to try it and see what I could do with Tableau visualizations. So firstly, I got this dataset from data.world. So in here you can see that this is the NYC dog licensing dataset. So I just downloaded it. It was in a CSV file, and I opened it here in MySQL. Go to the MySQL part of this practice. So let me just show you. I connected MySQL through the local host. I made a new database that is called NYC Dogs, and I imported the NYC dog licensing. I imported it with a different name because I noticed that if I use the NYC dog it had some problems reading it in MySQL. I don't know why, so I just changed the name. And well, firstly, let me show you the first query I used. It was select all columns from the dataset. As you can see in here, I used this query to kind of look throughout the data, see which columns I had and which data I had, so I could kind of start thinking what I wanted to do with it. After that, I saw that there was a breed name column, so I wanted to see which breed we had in our dataset. So one of the first things I noticed is that it had a unknown data. So in here, I think it's basically a mutt or a dog without a certain breed. I think it's quite normal. Like there's a lot of dogs that are being adopted and there are combinations of breeds. So I think that's what they wanted to show with the unknown. But they also, like, if they could find a dog that was quite similar to it, they would use the name of the breed and the crossbred, or they would use like the mix as well. Let me see if I can find it fast. Okay. Now here it is. So for example, in here it's called American Pit Bull Terrier / Pit Bull Mix. And in here you have another one that is American Pit Bull Terrier Mix. So in here I didn't fix the error quite away. I'm gonna show you later what I did, but as you can see, most of the breeds have like they are joined together. There's not that much of a problem. In here, I thought I wanted to see how many dogs were how many groups of breeds per borough, and then I wanted to see like the count. So for example, you can see in here that in most places, like you kind of have like the most similar breeds. For example, in here, most of the unknown is the one that has the most in all of the boroughs. Then you can go with Shih Tzu and Yorkshire and Maltese. So in there, I already knew that I wanted to do like a graph that would show the breeds per borough or something similar to it, or at least like the most common breeds. After that, I kind of wanted to see, well, like if we have dogs, there's must be a gender. So I wanted to see how different the the dogs that were being registered, if they were female or males. And in here we could see that there were mostly males, but it's not that far from a difference. After that, I kind of wanted to see which was the borough that had the most dogs registered. As you can see, it's Manhattan, but we still wanted to kind of go through our data. And here it's actually animal name. So I kind of wanted to see what was the most common animal name. Sorry, I had to correct that query, but this is what it showed. So the most common names were the ones that were not provided, they were unknown. So that's kind of like a mistake. You could say like we're not that interested in the names we don't have, but we are interested in the one that has the most. So it's Max, then Lola, and after that. And lastly, I did this process before, but I tried to clean the data because there were a lot of kind of just grammatical mistakes and input mistakes. For example, there were some mistakes that the read would be input with like a different organization. I don't know how to explain it, but like for example in here, some of the ways it was written, it was pointer, comma, German wireherd, but in other places it was German wireherd pointer. So I try to just put all of, like if it was the same read, I would try to like just rewrite them, update that data set so they would join in the same group. And I did that as well with the boroughs, because you could see that for example, Queens, you could find Queens in lowercase, Queens in uppercase, and that would separate it into two groups. So what I did is I just joined them into one group, and that helped a lot with the organization of the data. So now we're gonna go into Tableau because we already cleaned the data. We saw what we could do with it in MySQL, and now we want to visualize it. So the first thing I did in Tableau was to import the data. So in here, you could see that we imported the data. What I did in here was I wanted to have like a map that I could present the data. So I went and looked for a similar data from the NYC dog licensee dataset, and I looked for the US zip codes so I could actually visualize it in Tableau. So this was just for the to create a map, but it was just because of that. As you can see, like in the US zip codes, you just have the zip code, the latitude and longitude. After that, I tried to do that. As you can see here, I was not that successful, so I decided to start again and try something different. So I tried to visualize the top 10 breeds. Then I did the top 10 names. I did a map from the dog licenses in the area. So in here I could actually use the bird name, and I did with the row numbers so I could see how many dogs were licensed. And in here we can actually see what we had seen in MySQL. Manhattan is the one that has the most dogs registered. Then in here I try to, with the same map, I try to kind of see where there were mostly females or males, but if you can see, you cannot see data as well in here. Like even if we, like, I would think there would be more females with the way the data is being presented, so I did not like it. But like you can see the circles, so here is a male and then here is a female. So I decided to do another table. I think in here you can see the data best represented. So there's more dog licenses in Manhattan, but there's more male registered into the dog licenses. And in here I try to do kind of like a pie chart for Manhattan and to see which was the highest breed registered. So it was a mutt or a dog with not breed, then the Shih Tzu, and then the Yorkshire. But I think I didn't like how it looked as well, so I just left it there. So now let me show you what I did with my dashboards, and let me present you how I would want a person or client to see this data. So just wait for me to put it in presentation mode. So here is my dog license data. So it's kind of like a main menu. So in here you can click NYC areas, and you can see that the number of dog licenses is highest on Manhattan. But if you were curious to see how many dogs were they, like you could go through the borough and you can see that there's 488 dogs registered in the Bronx, but there's more dogs in Queens, there's even more dogs in Manhattan, kind of like that. In here you have a little house, and this little house takes you again to the main menu. Then we wanted to see the top breeds. So again, as I said, the one that was more registered were mutts, then Shih Tzus, then an American Pit Bull Terrier mix. So in here, as you can see, this is what I did with, I grouped two groups into one. That's why there's kind of like these different two colors. And if you go in here, you're gonna be able to see that there's two different groups in one. But it's basically the same breed, so that's why I put it in the same group. Then there's this one for the Yorkshire Terrier, then there's Chihuahuas, Maltese, Labrador Retrievers, French Bulldogs, and then a Labrador Retriever crossbred. Again, if you wanted to go to the main menu, you just go on clicking here. Then I did a graph for the top names. As you can see, it's Max, then Lola, Bella, and I tried to put different colors so you could see that there are different names, because I think when you kind of do these graphs and put the same color and you want to make sure that the person that visualizes the category sees that there's different names, you can use the colors to guide that kind of that thought. And again, we're gonna go to dog's gender. And as you can see, we can see that the Manhattan one has the most count of dogs, and then there's Staten Island, Brooklyn. Okay, I'm gonna start again, so cut it from here. So as you can see here in the graph, Manhattan is the one that has the most dogs, and it has more males than females. And actually in here you can pretty much visualize it as well. Like in most of the areas, there's more males than females registered. And again, if we want to go to the main menu, you have it here. So this is a way that I like to, with one dashboard that has different hyperlinks to the other dashboards, to kind of show it in a different way. I think this is kind of like an interactive, it kind of looks like a website kind of ish, and you can use the links to go to different graphs and then come back. And I think it looks quite interesting. I really liked it. So that's my visualization in Tableau. And now we're gonna go to the last part of this presentation. So what are we gonna do with these possible findings? First, I would suggest to give this information to the NYC dog licensing offices, so they can maybe use this data for marketing. They could, for example, if they know that there's the most dogs that are licensed are in Manhattan, maybe target the urban areas. So, for example, they could target the Bronx and maybe make a discount in that area. So there's more owners that register the dogs. They could also make campaigns with, like, if they know that there's that like most of the breeds are maybe a mutt or a Shih Tzu, then they could use that for their campaigns and maybe use a dog for the campaign that most of the people are related to. Um, then this information could also be used for companies that sell dog products. For example, if a company wanted to concentrate in Manhattan, they know that they could use a dog that has no breed in their commercials because they know that most of the people in there have dogs with that have no breed and they could relate more to it. Or they could use, now that they know that the highest or the most used name is Max, for example. They could use it in their commercials and call the dog in the commercial Max because most of the people, or a lot of people, have dogs that their names are Max, so they could be more related to it. And I think lastly, they could use this information for adoption campaigns. For example, they could maybe promote that if you adopt a dog, you could get a with the adoption, you could get the NYC dog license because there's a lot of people that have dogs with that breed. So we might think that most of them are adopted, and we could use that finding to help the process of licensing their dogs with also the adoption fee. So kind of joining the two together might increase the number of licensed dogs in New York City. Well, thank you for spending a little bit of your time seeing this presentation. Muchas gracias, which means thank you in Spanish. And well, I hope I see you more in my website and you can see a lot of more of my projects. And have a nice day.